Thank you, Bella. Congratulations, grade 12, on this wonderful graduation day. 2,000 years ago, a Roman poet by the name of Juvenal stated, "There are only white swans." From that day forth, up until 1697, it was believed that only white swans existed, that it was more likely to see a unicorn galloping across a paddock, and it was more likely to see a purple-coloured flying elephant than it was to see a black swan. In 1697, William de Flamey landed on the west coast of Australia only to discover a black swan. He took a drawing of this black swan back to Holland, where he was criticised for showing this swan, which had the exact same appearance as a white swan, but he had coloured it black. 30 years later, some other explorers from Holland came to Australia, captured this elusive bird, took it back, where they were criticised and put in prison for a short time until experiments could be done on this bird to see if the DNA showed that it was actually a bird. They executed this swan, plucked it, put the feathers in a solution where they looked to see what dye was used to make this swan black. After 4 months and 3 days, they realised that it actually was a black swan. See, up till that time, there was a belief that if you couldn't see it, then it didn't actually exist. Year 12, I would like to say to you that don't be the white swan. Don't believe that you have to see it. Doubting Thomas was such a person in the Bible that said, I need to put my fingers in the hands of Jesus to believe he is actually a risen Lord. The Bible here talks about the black swan theory. It talks about you don't need to have the answers to know that it is true. The Bible talks about Jesus in forms of what seems contradictions, but I'd rather call paradoxes, mysteries of faith that you can only understand through faith, the contradictions or the paradoxes of the mysteries in this book. God talks about he is the Alpha and the Omega. The Bible talks about how a man divided the Red Sea, how a man lived in a whale, how a child defeated a giant, how a man slept with lions, how a mother was a virgin, how Jesus was 100% God and 100% human, how Jesus turned water into wine, how Jesus let the blind to see, how Jesus set the hungry full. There are secret formulas written within this box, in this book, that are the secrets to living this life, that when we behold them in our heart, we can see that they are black swan elements where we don't have to see it to believe it. Things like, to live, we must die. To save one's life, we must lose it. To become wise, we must become fools. To be exalted, we must become humble. To become first, we must become last. Then Jesus said in John 11:25-26, "He who believes in me, though they may die, they shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die." I believe when we were born, however many years ago, that the Bible talks about in Psalm 139, it says, "For you created my innermost being." I don't believe he left out the element of the black swan. The black swan element is that ingredient of faith, which the Bible says without faith it is impossible to please God. And that element of faith which has been deposited in you when you were created in your mother's womb is that which says we don't believe it because we can see it. We don't believe it because someone knows it to be true. We believe it because the Bible says so. We believe it because there's an element of faith which we can step into the purposes which God has for your life. We're not called to be ordinary, mundane, live the status quo lifestyle, but I believe all you grade 12 students are called for a purpose, to live a purpose of faith, to live a purpose that says that He knitted me together in my mother's womb for a purpose, something that is of great significance. And then let it be so that when you have exercised faith, that when people say it can't be done, you know that there is truth and truth to be discovered that is found in Jesus, that you can then say, I praise you because I know I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Let us not listen to the white swan speakers, but dare to believe in the black swan. Thank you.